Hi, I'm Ashley.
And I'm Lucia, and welcome back to another episode of 76 Cents Pod.
In this week's episode, we will be talking about health and wellness in college. So we can just dive right in.
Yep. So let's just start with some discussion of what we think health is. This episode was actually requested by my roommate who is also in college. So, maybe you'll be able to see some of your own experiences in this. If not, it's fine. Like, it'll be different for everyone. But let's start off with physical health. So, what is your view of physical health?
Well, I think that your physical health, of course, it entails working out and what you eat. And so it's really important to make sure that your body, one, has the fuel that it needs by eating right, eating enough, like things like that, making sure you have enough water. And then it's also important that you keep up your physical well being with working out or at least being somewhat active throughout your day so that, you know, you can get those endorphins that also affects your mental health. We'll get into that. And
Mm-hmm.
keeping your body um, healthy in general. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I think of when I think of physical like
me too.
wellness.
I think the only thing I would add is I think sleep is technically part of physical health, but
Yeah,
a lot of people don't really think about it that way because it's just something you do every day. Or if you don't sleep, then you should, but they don't really consider it to be part of physical health when it really is because it's just like the time when your whole body's healing. So yeah.
definitely. I think sleep is like one of the things that, like you said, like it gets overlooked way too much, especially in college. Like you can work out, you can eat right, but if you get like 3 hours of sleep a night, I'm sorry, but the things that you ate that were healthy and all the exercise that you did is not going to be as effective because your body can't recoup from all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think you definitely have a better sleep schedule than me, but like even I sleep more than most people that I know of. Like I sleep like 6 7 hours a night, which is apparently like that's like still below recommended for my age.
Yeah,
But then I hear people talking about how like, oh, I went to bed at like 4 yesterday, and I'm like, you had a class at 8 a.m. Like I don't like you
man.
need to be taking a nap or something. This is not like sustainable. So yeah.
Yeah, no. I feel like also people like to plan their days around like what they're doing throughout the day, which of course is like reasonable. But then also you need to be planning, okay, I need to account for how much sleep I'm going to get cuz like
Mm-hmm.
you can't plan out your whole day and be like I'm going to hit a workout at 5:30 in the morning and then go to class and then go to work and then do homework and then I'll go to bed at 2 a.m. Like no. You need to
Yeah.
go for your sleep time, which that's the first thing I account for every single day because
Yeah,
I cannot function without getting enough sleep. Like, no.
I know.
So
You're an early sleeper.
I'm the grumpiest person ever if I am like tired. So I just know that about myself and I'm like, listen, I cannot be that person every day. So I need to make sure that I get enough sleep. And yes, like you said, I go to bed so early. And like when I was living with my roommates, like literally my room was like right next to the living room. So like they would be like watching TV or something and it would literally be like 9:30 and it'd be like, guys, can you keep it down? On my part is slightly annoying, but also like
Just trying to get your sleep.
yeah,
Good for you. Good for you.
we need better sleep habits. I like that you mentioned that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just know like obviously I'm guilty of this too because I'll stay up till 1 a lot of the times, but I know that it does affect my mood a lot, and like if you don't sleep, you don't really like your nutrients aren't like processed well, your memory isn't processed well, you just feel bad, so it affects everything else.
Yeah, yeah, true. Okay, so now that we've talked about physical health slash wellness, so what do you think of when you think of mental or emotional health?
So when I think of mental health, well, I think about like obviously how you're feeling, not just in your body, but if you're, sad, happy, depressed, anxious, etc. It can also just be like if you've been doing a lot of work, for example, you might be really stressed. So that could be a part of it. Or if you're, feeling really relaxed and carefree, then you might be a lot like more lighthearted or just feel like you have more energy, even though you've, maybe everything else about your, physical health is the same, but just like having that kind of mental load lifted off can change how you view your days, I guess. And then um I know that it's been pretty different in the past year just because like, everyone's been going through a pandemic. So like mental health has not been really like at its peak, I guess, but it's like good that we're starting to have these conversations because, it was like a stigma to talk about mental health for a long time. And I think in even like our culture or like Asian cultures in general, and like specifically my family, like my parents didn't really understand that mental health was like an actual thing that you had to be worried about until like I described to them like no, like things like depression like really do take a toll on your brain. It's not like something people are making up. Like it's actually imbalances in your chemicals and stuff like that. So it's not something that we should just overlook.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I feel like mine don't really understand that either. I feel like it's like a generational kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
as well, just because like you said, there was so much stigma surrounding it that, older generations don't really like talking about mental health that much. So I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. Um, but yeah, something I would add to that is just like I think when I think of mental health, I think of like mindset and things like that. So like, even if you are like sad or whatever, like you're allowed to have emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like I think that people are not good at realizing like emotions are normal and emotions are things that everyone experiences and like they're not constant, like they're fluctuating all the time. So you can be sad one moment, you can be happy the next, like they're constantly changing, but people don't know how to process those emotions, I think is like where the
Mm-hmm.
main issue comes in. It's like if they're feeling any emotion, they feel like something is wrong. And I think that that is where um at least a lot of college students that I've met with, like, or that I've talked to in general, they just think that like being sad is wrong. Like you shouldn't be sad. And I think, you know, you shouldn't have that mindset. That you should have the mindset like, okay, I am experiencing this emotion. This emotion, however, does not define me. It does not define my satisfaction with life. Like, so I think that is an important thing to think of as well with mental health.
Yeah. Like it kind of reminds me of Inside Out, how they were mentioning how Riley, was seeing her life through like sad lenses, but it didn't mean that she didn't have times when she was happy too. It's just like whatever happens in the moment is just like what you need to be experiencing or going through at that time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. And I feel like with COVID, like we used to have to, at my job, we used to have to call students who were in isolation. So, like, some of the questions we would ask would be like, how are your classes going? Can you stay in contact with your instructors? And then we would also ask about their emotional well being. And it was kind of shocking, like, the amount of students that I would talk to who would be like, yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. Like, I actually have been struggling a lot because, they can't be in contact with anyone. So that's really hard. And so it was just kind of surprising like how much the students just like wanted to talk to us over the phone, and like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that even just us like as the university's like representatives like reaching out to them meant so much to them. So I think it's important, especially during this time, just to like realize, like you said, everyone is going through a tough time right now, and you know, just like be that person for someone else. Like just even if you can't do a lot, just be like, "Hey, like how are you doing today?" And like that could mean the world to someone for that day. So, I think that's really important. That's, like, something that I've taken away from COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you were saying with college students, a lot of times people won't express their emotions because they'll think it makes them look weak or like, I don't know, annoying or something. But I have literally cried in front of people so many times. So and like it used to be a lot worse because when you're I guess when you're younger, people might tell you like, oh, like don't do that in public because then like you're gonna like make a fool out of yourself. But like if a kid is crying on a playground, like they probably have a reason to be crying and you shouldn't like try to tell them to stop because it's not going to do anything for them. So and that's the same like when you get older, like if you feel something like you shouldn't try to suppress it because it will just get worse. Just let
Oh,
it out.
yeah, like, seriously, I was talking about this the other day, surprisingly, like, I was really stressed out about my exams because I had 2 exams coming up, and I
Mhm.
had, like, a really bad headache, and I was, like, just, like, trying to study for my exams, but, like, I couldn't because my head hurt, and, like, I took medicine and nothing did anything for me. So I was, like, so stressed, and I was, like, literally on the verge of crying, and my mom was like, "Don't cry, like, you're just gonna make yourself more upset." I was like, "No, like, if I cry right now, it'll help me, like, process it and, like, get through it." So I think that's another, like, generational difference as well, like, because we were always taught, like, "Oh, don't cry, blah, blah." But I think, like, sometimes you just need a good cry, and then you can just move on. Like, if I'm stressing over this exam, like, I can just cry for a second and be like, "Oh my gosh, like, this exam is tomorrow. I have no idea what's happening." I cry for a second, then I'm like, "Okay, like, we're good now. We're gonna reset. We're gonna take a little break. We're gonna come back, and then we're gonna get this done." So, I feel like if I don't process it that way, like, I will just be stuck with that emotion the whole time, and then it's hindering me from, like, moving forward. So,
Yeah.
I say I'm all for a good cry. Um, if you need
Yeah.
a good cry.
No, last semester I was like doing my math homework one night. My roommates were just sitting there across the room and I was just sitting at the table crying. But you know, after I cried, like I was like, whatever, it's fine. And then I finished my math homework. So honestly, it all worked out. Yeah. Just let it
Exactly.
out.
It'll all work out. Don't hold it in. Just
Yeah.
let it out.
Just let it out. Okay. Next, I guess this is kind of an aspect of health that I guess is a little bit overlooked. Social health, which has been hard for everyone. But yeah, how would you define social
Sorry, I'm, like, eating a piece of chocolate right now. Which
health?
is ironic since we're talking about health, but
It's okay.
it's fine. Like,
You gotta treat yourself sometimes, you know?
I'm sorry,
Moderation.
my body,
It's
man.
it's all good.
It's all good. Also, like, my dad came and put it on my desk. What was I supposed to do?
Exactly.
Just reject it? No. Okay, sorry. So what is my perspective of social health? I think I think I've been really bad at
It's
keeping
okay.
up with my social well-being, but, like, it's hard during COVID because we can't really, like, go many places, but I think it's just important for people to know, like, yeah, like, friendships are super important, but also just, like, the relationships that you have with other people in general, if you're even if you're not, like, super friendly with someone, like, that's important as well. So I feel like for a lot of people, when they go to college, they feel like they don't have friends, they don't have their people that they're close with yet. But I feel like it's important to also remember that even though you might not be super close with someone yet, like, that relationship is still meaningful and it's still important for your physical well-being to, be around other people, even if you don't have, like, a deep connection with them yet, or, like, even just, interacting with your coworkers or, like, other people in your class or, like, your professors, like, that also means something. So I feel like people, um, when they think of social well-being, they only think of, like, "Oh, I need to go hang out with my friends," which, of course, that's a part of it, but, you need to find other sources of, like, social, like, fulfillment, I guess that if that makes sense. So that's, like, kinda what comes to mind for me. But, of course, also, like, being the person to reach out to other people, is really important because for me personally, I have been really bad at that. Like, Oh my gosh, I, like,
It's
wait for
okay.
people to come to me and be like, "Hey, you wanna hang out?" And then, like, if they don't, I'm like, "Wow, everyone hates me. No one wants to hang out with me." That's literally, like, just me making that up in my head because it's like, if I were to ask them to hang out, like, they would probably say yes. Like, no
Hmm.
one's just like, it's stupid to think that you should be sitting around waiting for other people to do something about it when you can just do something about it yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I really agree with what you said about like you don't have to be like best friends with everyone, but like social interaction in general is just really important because I mean, humans are social creatures, I guess, animals technically. So like it has yeah, like we've been saying it's been hard because we can't see people in person, but that doesn't mean we are just gonna like I don't know, curl up in a ball and like never talk to anyone again. Like we have, so many avenues. We have technology. We got Zoom, we got FaceTime, we got just the phone, if you don't want to see their face or if you don't like talking to them face to face. Um, you could go outside, I don't know, take a walk. There's like a lot of ways where you can stay safe but still like contact people. And like in college, it really honestly is pretty easy to like start a friendship or at least like get to know someone like back when there wasn't a pandemic you could just like talk to someone sitting next to you in a lecture hall even if it's just something simple like hey what's your name like what's your major how's it going today dot 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 like most people are really happy that you even ask because they don't know anyone else in that class either so it's just kind of a good way to start a new acquaintance or something. And then same with online classes, like even if I've never seen some of these people before, I'm in like the group me chats or whatever. So sometimes I might just like send them a DM if I want to ask them a question or like if they answer my question, I might talk to them later about something else just because we've already had some sort of connection before.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, it's kind of hard, like, if all of your classes are online. Like, USC has certain classes that are in person. Like, I have labs that are in person, and I have a biochem class that's like hybrid. You can do it in person or virtual. So, like, there's this one girl that's in my biochem class who I've had like a chemistry lab last year with, and so I like kind of knew her, but like I don't know, like we weren't friends, like we didn't hang out, but like I recognized her from that lab and I was like, "Oh, hey, like you're in my biochem class. Like we used to have a lab together. Like how are you doing? Blah blah." And like she was like really happy to talk to me and she was like super nice. And then I found out that she works where I work now. I work at the Student Success Center. So I like my role is a peer consultant, which basically we help people with like study skills and stuff like that. But she's a tutor there now and I was like, "Oh, like that's so cool." And it's just like having like a small conversation with someone and like just taking this step to like approach them is so much easier than like it seems because
Mm-hmm.
people aren't going to be upset that you're talking to them. Like that would be weird.
Yeah. Yeah, like just don't interrupt them if they're talking to someone else. But like I've never had anyone like ignore me when I've tried to talk to them in a lecture hall or like over a group meet message or something like that. And
Yeah.
like it really helps to even have like a friend in each class or at least a classmate that you know in each class, even if you don't know them that well, just so you can like bounce ideas off of each other or have someone to reach out to if you're, have questions. So, yeah.
And I will say, like, I've been on the other end of that as well. Like, I've had people come up to me in class and be like, "Hey, like, did you do the homework, blah blah?" Or like in my organic chemistry class, this girl came up to me after class. She was like, "Hey, like, we kind of sit near each other in class. Like, do you want to study for the exam together? Like, we can go to the library." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure, like, definitely." And it never once popped up in my mind like, "Oh, like, I don't want to talk to this person." Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like everyone genuinely has good intentions. Like for the most part, people have good intentions, and so like don't be scared to go up to people, especially in college, because like people are always looking for new friends in college.
Yeah,
Always.
exactly. Yeah. Alrighty, moving on. So I think we talked a little bit about this, but how has your outlook on health and wellness changed in college compared to, I guess, before?
I think I kind of realized that my health and my well-being is like my own responsibility. It's not something that I should rely on other people for. It's something that I have to like do myself, which has been really hard because I have a lot
Mhm.
going on with like classes and stuff, so I'm not the most dedicated when it comes to like working out and stuff like that. But, it's just become really apparent that like if I don't take the steps to improve my own health, like then it won't improve. So,
Yeah.
because, you know, in high school, well, I played softball, so like that was an easy way for me to like be held accountable for like my physical health. Um, and like I don't know, it was just a lot easier when you're in such a structured like setting.
Hmm.
But once you're out in college, you're kind of on your own and you got to figure that out. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think like when I was growing up and before I was independent, it wasn't really something I ever thought about because, like, I mean, my parents are the ones who are feeding us, so they're usually giving us pretty nutritious foods, like if they can. And then like, I mean, I didn't really think about exercise or working out that much because I had like pretty much a pretty fast metabolism for most of my life. Like, it didn't really get any worse until I started college. So I didn't think about exercising or whatever. And then like with like mental and social health, I mean, all of my friends are at school, so I could just see them every day. And like, it's not like I had any really big things to worry about at the time. But then, yeah, when I went to college, it was just kind of a reflection time, I guess, because you do have to learn how to manage your schedule as well as your own responsibilities. And then if you want to stay, healthy, you have to also think about how you're going to factor that into your schedule. So I did like start using the college gyms a lot when I first started, and then like at least try to go to some of the group fitness classes because I didn't really like doing my own workouts just because that's not my thing. But at least I wasn't just sitting around every day. And I mean, it can be hard if you have like a heavy workload, but even just like me walking around campus was like a lot of exercise compared to what I have now. So I wonder if, we'll ever be back on campus like that.
yeah. I don't know, like I've noticed that like so I used to get like 10,000 steps a day from walking
Mhm.
around campus cuz like USC's campus is pretty big and yeah, I
Yeah, like
walked
my
to my
school.
dorm and everything like
Yeah, I go to Chapel Hill if you guys didn't know, but like it's literally on a hill. So like every day, every morning I'd have to walk up the big hill just to get to class. And then like I would come back at night and be like, oh, like I walked like literally 7 miles today. But that was just going to class. So now I'm just it's way worse, but at least I had like the opportunity while I still could, you know.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I used to go and like actually go to the gym and like I would walk to the gym, then I would work out and then I would
Mm-hmm.
walk back like what? Now,
Yeah.
well now it's hard because like for our gym, you have to like sign up for a specific time and you have to like wear a mask, of course, and all that stuff. And that just like hinders me from wanting to go because you have to put in like the effort. Like you can't just decide that day, like, oh, I'm gonna go work out for like an hour today. Cause like you have to actually like schedule a time when you're gonna go so that you can like use the machines because they have to know like how many people are gonna be there and stuff like that. So I feel like that's been a problem for me lately, but
Yeah. Me too. I just haven't gone to a gym, but like I try to like take a walk outside whenever I can or like do some like in-home workouts. There's a lot of them on YouTube these days, so you can just
I am
search up
all
whatever you
for
want to do. Exactly. Like
yeah.
it's I mean, I feel better than just doing nothing, so
Yeah, let me
it's
let me
not
just
bad.
play that Chloe Ting arm workout video. Let me tell you, she has an arm workout video that's like basically just doing like arm circles. It's not really like there's no weights involved,
Hmm.
like body weight. But let me tell you,
They hurt.
when I when you get to the end of the video, it hurts so bad. And I'm like, how do
Hmm.
these arm circles literally cause me pain? But yeah,
Yeah.
no. for a good workout video. I have like the Fit On app, which has like a ton of
Mm-hmm.
videos. Um,
I play those Caleb Marshall dance ones.
oh my
You
god.
gotta make it fun. Like you gotta make it fun. You know you can play Just Dance. There's literally Just Dance videos uploaded to YouTube. So I sometimes I'll find those and I'll just play those to myself.
Literally, like I got a week. Let's go.
Exactly.
They have like the Just Sweat
Yeah,
part,
yeah, yeah.
like
The mode.
the
Mm-hmm.
game. Yeah. So let's go. Let's get some cardio up in here.
Exactly.
Like, yeah. And of course I'm a yoga person. Like,
Oh yes, we love yoga with Adrian. So shout out to her.
yes, and that's like good for your mental health and your physical health. Well, working out in general is good for your mental health as well because,
Mm-hmm.
the more you work out, the better you're gonna feel. Just in
Yeah.
general, like it's proven fact.
Yeah. Endorphins, you know.
And you just feel like I don't know, I feel like whenever I finish a workout, I just feel so much more accomplished. Like I'm like proud of myself. I'm like, wow, like you did that.
Yeah. Like it's like how in her videos, Adrian's always like, you should be proud of your body. Like if you're shaking, that means you're alive. And I'm like, wow, I am. Like I am alive. You're right. That makes me yeah, it makes me feel inspired. And like low key, her some of her yoga practices are hard because like I just don't have the strength, the core strength. So it's a pretty good workout.
Yeah, let me tell you, if you think yoga is easy,
Go do it for 40
no.
minutes.
No. Like I have a yoga class that's like well, I that's another one of my in-person classes because it's a yoga
Hmm.
class with the university. And let me tell you, last week my legs were burning. Like, and I was looking around the room. I was like, are these other people like feeling this too? And they were like, we were literally like all like shaking. Like my
Hmm.
legs were hurting so bad. And if you've ever gone to like a Pilates or a bar class or anything, they tell you to like pulse and like the small movements hurt so bad.
Hmm.
And so literally if anyone ever tells me they're like, but like you don't do weight training, I'm like, but this still hurts.
It's
So
kind of it's like toning. So yeah, it is like targeting small muscles.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
I kind of want to get into weight training. I just don't know what I'm doing. So
Yeah, I want to do some more research on that. Maybe we can ask my roommate Sydney to get on a podcast episode about that. She's a certified trainer. I'll
yeah,
ask her.
see, that's my problem. Is like, well, also like I don't think like my fitness goals personally aren't really to like build up a ton of muscle. Like
Hmm.
I just want my body to feel healthy and like
Yeah.
to feel good and like strong. Like not
Hmm.
like that I need like a lot of muscle mass. So I think that's why like I'm not really as into weight training because my like fitness goals personally are like that's not
Yeah.
like my approach to it. So but I would
Yeah.
like to learn more about weight training because I straight up know nothing.
I will actually ask her to be on it. I'm sure she'll say yes. We'll just have to figure out her schedule.
True, true.
True, true.
All right.
Okay, let's see.
So, um, I don't know what our next point is. I lost my spot. Okay. So, how have we tried to maintain our health? We've kind of talked about that
Hmm.
already.
Yeah. It just kind of discipline at some point. Like if you don't if you don't have time, like that's understandable. But like if you do have time and you don't have the motivation, then it probably won't happen. But like if you have good goals like you're talking about, it'll probably make it easier. And your goals don't have to be like, oh, I want to lose weight, blah blah blah. It can just be like, I want to feel good, like
Yeah.
in my body, and or I want to eat healthy because I want to feel like clean or something like that. Or I want to drink water so I'm hydrated. It
Yeah.
can just be easy things like that. Or I want to sleep because I need to rest.
Yeah. And honestly, like, just like all of those things that you said, it just makes you feel better. Like, I just can't explain it. Like,
Yeah.
when you have, I don't know, when you have a consistent exercise routine, when you have a consistent sleep schedule, when you are consistently eating well, or, even if you don't eat like perfectly, like, I'm not gonna bash anyone for that. I literally had a piece of chocolate on this podcast while we were talking, but, like, just making sure that you are accomplishing, like, what you wanna accomplish and, like, your body and your mental health and everything, like, will reflect the work that you put into that, so
Yeah. Yeah, because you all have, I mean, you're all gonna have a different perception of what wellness is to you. So if you wanna if you wanna work towards that, then that should be your goal. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to, the big topic, COVID-19. So, as we know, Ashley is a bio major, I'm a public health major, and COVID has literally never left my mind since it started. Well, like probably extra for me because I'm studying about it. But let's just talk about a little bit about health and COVID. So one thing I wanted to get into was there's been some controversy over the vaccine, but I'm gonna have Ashley describe to you how that vaccine works. Why don't you go ahead?
got you. Okay, so I'm gonna try to say this in the simplest terms possible. I am a biology major, like Lucia said, so I'm sorry if some of this sounds a little bit complicated, but I'm gonna try to explain. So, and also, like, this may vary depending on what specific vaccine we are talking about, but in the US, we like the main vaccine is the Pfizer vaccine. So that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about. So basically, um, well, let's start off with what a virus is. Let's start there. So, a virus is a non-living thing which contains protein and nucleic acid. So, protein is basically what's keeping the whole virus together, and like that's the structure of it, kind of, I guess you could think of it like that. And then the nucleic acid is like the genetic component of it. So, for the coronavirus, for COVID-19, um, it is a RNA virus. So that means that RNA is the nucleic acid that it uses as its um, genetic material. So basically, what the RNA in the coronavirus holds is like the instructions to make more of that virus. So when a virus infects your body, usually it will infect a cell, and then that cell will be used along with the virus's genetic information to produce more of the virus, which will then cause different symptoms within your body. So that's basically how a viral infection works. Lucia, does that like sound simple enough? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you broke it down pretty well. Yeah. And
Okay.
like I think some specifics about the COVID vaccine, I think it targets like part of your lungs or something. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
like a respiratory infection, so it will affect your breathing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So now that we've discussed how the virus kind of works, let's get into the science behind vaccines. So basically how vaccines in general work are so your immune system has these cells that are called memory B cells. So when you come into contact with any sort of antigen, like a virus, some bacteria that you're infected with, anything like that, your body, the first time it comes into contact with it, it'll be like, oh shoot, like this is a new thing. Like we need to start pumping these antibodies out, which are basically used to fight off that infection. So the antibodies are good. They're there to fight off whatever you're infected with. So they fight off a virus, bacterial infection, things like that. So that's how your immune system works. And what these memory cells do is after you were infected with something, it will remember that. So if you get infected with that same thing a second time, your body will be able to react a lot faster, produce those antibodies much more quickly. And that's basically how your immune system is able to have a much quicker response, is because it's come into contact with that thing before. So now that it's seen it a second time, it's like, okay, I remember this guy. Let's make those same antibodies. Like, so your body can respond much more quickly on the second time. So, how does that fit into vaccines? vaccines are that first exposure. So let's say, I'm trying to think, let's say like the MMR vaccine that most people got as a child. Maybe you didn't, but for the most part, I think most people have received that vaccine. So that's measles, mumps, rubella. And so basically, what it does is if you have gotten the vaccine, you've already been exposed to those antigens. So your body, if it comes in contact with something that causes mumps, then your body can respond much more quickly and fight it off. So then you don't have the symptoms that are associated with mumps. And it's much less severe. So that's kind of like if you get a flu vaccine, you can still get the flu, but it will be less severe because your body is able to fight it off. So with the coronavirus, wait, let me pause. Lucia, does that make sense? Do I need to go into further detail there?
I think that is good. Yeah, simple terms are good.
Okay. I'm trying to make sure that this sounds like, so that the lay people can understand it. But sometimes, I get carried away with these terms that some people might not necessarily know. So I'm trying to keep it simple. Okay. So, how does this affect COVID? So, basically, the Pfizer vaccine is an mRNA vaccine. And what that means is it contains a sequence from that genetic material that is in the coronavirus. So I mentioned previously it has RNA as its genetic material. And so what this vaccine contains is only a small portion of that RNA, which codes for a protein on the outside of the coronavirus, which is called the spike protein. So when you're infected with coronavirus, you would have the entire virus within you, not just the spike protein, but the vaccine only encodes for that spike protein. So your cells will make this protein in response to the mRNA because mRNA basically codes for proteins. And then mRNA gets degraded, but the protein will be in your cells, and your um, immune system cells will recognize that. And that's when your memory B cells that we mentioned before will remember that protein. It'll be like, oh, shoot, like I remember this. I remember coronavirus. So if you were then infected with the actual virus, your body will be like, oh, shoot, like I've seen this protein before from the vaccine. So then it'll recognize it if you ever come in contact with the actual virus. So then you can fight it off quicker. And that's basically how it works.
That was great. I'm just going to ask you a few clarifying questions for the audience. So, can you get coronavirus from the vaccine?
That is a good question. And the answer is no, because it does not contain the entire RNA sequence from the COVID virus. So, since it doesn't encode for the entire virus, it does not give you coronavirus. It's only encoding that spike protein portion, which is basically like its little
It's kind of
flag.
like a marker.
Yeah. It's basically its little flag saying, like, hey, this is
Come
coronavirus.
get me. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's only that little flag that so that your body can recognize it.
Yes. Good. Thank you for answering. I just wanted everyone to be sure that we know that you cannot get the coronavirus from the vaccine. You can get it even if you've had the vaccine, but it doesn't mean that it came from the vaccine itself. And
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely heard of cases where people get it again, like the virus again, but that could just be something to do with your own personal immune system.
Or it could be something similar to the flu. Um, COVID has different strains, so
Mm-hmm.
you know,
It
we
could
might
the
not.
virus can mutate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we might not, even if you get the vaccine, there might be other strains that you are not then immune to. So that's another
Yeah.
factor. But yeah, I personally will be getting this vaccine because I understand the science behind it. So I think that's an important part. Like, do your research on it. And I think
Yeah.
that's very important. Um,
I think I definitely will try to get it soon. Well, as soon as I can. Because I mean, both my roommates have it because they work in like medical settings, but it hasn't been released to civilians yet. But I mean, effectiveness or efficacy has been pretty high in this trial, and it was a really big sample size. So I I mean, that means that only a few people like didn't see effectiveness from it. So, it's promising, and I'm just kind of disappointed in the vaccine rollout at this point, but like I can't really do anything about that. So, another thing that I think COVID has really made us think about is just like how clean things in public are. Like, I know that most, restaurants will clean their tables and, wash their dishes and whatever, but now it's like every single day they wipe tables and stuff. But I don't know, like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's frankly disgusting how we used to live.
Mm-hmm.
Like how did we just not clean things before until
Yeah.
like okay, well, I understand because we're lazy and like even if you do get something off of like a table, like if you pick up some sort of thing, like it's probably gonna not infect you. Okay, that was a bad analogy. Like, let's say you come into contact with like one little speck of like the flu on a table. It's probably not really gonna cause like actual symptoms. But if you come in contact with enough of them, like, yeah. So I think before we were just like, deal with it. Like, it'll make you stronger. Like, that's how I remember people used to talk about like kids eating dirt. It's good for their immune system because, like, it would, like I said, the first time you come into contact with something like this, then you got the antibodies, then you build
Mm-hmm.
up your immunity to that thing. So I think that's what we were all assuming when we were disgusting. But now I'm like, now I think about it, I'm like, people used to not clean things. Like,
Yeah.
door handles, nasty.
Yeah. Like just thinking about how many like people have touched door handles, water fountains, I don't know, even car doors, like going grocery shopping.
Also,
Like I just it
like,
baffles my mind.
what's a crazy fact that I have learned? Like, well, I mean, I kind of knew this, but
It's kind of a gross fact.
um, whenever you flush a toilet and you don't have the lid down, that crap goes everywhere. Like, everywhere.
Yeah.
That's frankly disgusting. And like, I found out you're not supposed to keep your toothbrush in the bathroom because of that reason.
Mm.
I mean,
Wow, this is making me reevaluate.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like things like that that you're like, why? How did I live like this? I mean, I my toothbrush is still in the bathroom because
Yeah.
I'm
Like
not
I mean,
that way.
I'd probably
But
be fine, but like just like being aware of like how much dirt is everywhere and like how easy it is to like wash your hands. Like, okay, people literally did not wash their hands before COVID, which is just another problem. But like, please, like, wash your hands, soap and water. You have to lather. Okay, we're not doing like
also,
a quick rinse, we're doing a lather.
20 seconds, like sing happy birthday
Mm-hmm.
twice.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, oh my gosh. But another fact about bathrooms that I have recently found out. So the men who are listening to this, I just need you to tell me if this is true or not. Like, please let me know. Contact me personally because I want to know. Like, don't be embarrassed. I just want to know. So, apparently, there was this high school like biology teacher, and their class did like a sort of lab kind of research thing, and they swabbed the handles of the sinks in the bathrooms. So when they tested, like, they swabbed them and then I'm assuming they put them on a petri dish to see what would grow. So in the girls' bathroom, there was like a ton of stuff that grew. And then in the boys' bathroom, there was nothing that grew from them swabbing the sink handles, like for the faucet. And they realized it's because the boys don't touch the sink. They do not wash their hands. And I've just got to know. And then, boys, do y'all wash your hands after you go to the bathroom?
That
Because
is disgusting.
if you don't, like, I don't care. Like, I know some boys don't think that their hands are dirty or something. But like I said, the toilet flush alone, or like I guess guys can use urinals, but either way, like being in a dirty environment, like a bathroom, you should
A
wash your hands
public bathroom at
on your
that
way
one.
out.
Yeah, like okay, maybe if it's in your house, whatever. Like you can just eat your own germs, but like a public bathroom,
Not even acceptable at
I
home.
mean, I obviously I'm not going to do that. Like I always wash my hands, but like, people get lazy. But like a public bathroom, like I don't even like I don't even try to sit on the actual toilet. Like you got to put that toilet paper layer, before you sit down. You
No,
don't
you
know
don't even
who's
sit
gonna
down.
there.
You don't even sit
You gotta
down.
hover.
Yeah, like your legs are burning, but you will not be touching
Gotta
that.
sacrifice.
You
Exactly.
gotta
Like
flush it with your foot. You can't touch it with your hand.
open the door handle with a paper towel. Like I'm not risking
Yes.
it anymore. Mm-mm.
Yes, exactly. And also turn off the sink faucet with a paper towel because you are then gonna touch the germs that you just tried to wash off. Like, wow.
Exactly. Like you just don't think about this because like I mean, you just don't. But now that we
Yeah.
are being told like, oh, let's like wear a
Unless you're
mask, wash our hands, blah blah blah. Now you're like, oh, okay. Well, I,
unless
I see
you're
why.
like actually a person that works in an environment where you would have to keep like an aseptic technique, like in a research lab, or even if you're in food service, like you gotta wash your hands. I'm not saying everyone in food service like is super clean, but you're supposed to wash your hands, wear gloves. So
Mm-hmm.
in that aspect, I think if you have been in a job like that, like you know what you're supposed to do. But the average citizen, like I feel like no one knew how to wash their hands properly.
Yeah, it's just sad.
We gotta do like the back of the hand, then we gotta rub together the
Nails,
palms, get under the nails.
do the thumbs. Okay, don't forget the thumbs.
Yes,
Wrists,
yes.
hand washing tutorial. Okay, guys.
Like we do this action between the fingers, nails, and thumbs and wrists, and then we rinse, and then we get paper towel, then we dry, then we take paper towel, turn off sink, open door handle, throw paper towel away. That's
Thank
the
you.
whole process.
Yes, thank you for that demonstration.
Yes, yes. For anyone who did not know, which at this point you should know.
Yeah, like that's like personal hygiene at this point. But there's also, the public health side.
Yeah.
Sorry, were you gonna say
Oh,
something?
I was gonna say like things like in my office we have phones that like
Mm-hmm.
multiple people use. Like so now I feel like people have gotten better about like wiping things like that down that are just like high touch surfaces. So
Yeah. Yeah, like personal behaviors are obviously very important, but like to a certain extent, it does need to also be at a higher level, which is public health. Like, I know you guys have heard of the CDC, Dr. Fauci, he's always making his little statements telling us to wear masks, physical distance, which, I do. I do both those. But I think a lot of people just either don't understand like information that's being given to them, or they don't believe it, or they don't believe it because they don't understand it. So there's just, I feel like there's kind of like this perception that like public health has become like political for some reason, which it shouldn't be, because we're literally trying to protect the entire population. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
my thoughts on that are I feel like some people think that they're being oppressed by these public health initiatives. And
Mm-hmm.
I just don't agree with that statement. If you believe that, I just simply don't agree. I think like the coronavirus is a real thing. Like I've known people that have literally died from it and had like major health consequences from it. So it's not something to take lightly, and I think that even if it was the government trying to oppress you somehow, like, wearing a mask is not that's not hard, like, it's not a form of oppression, it's
Yeah,
really
like
just not affecting you that much. Like, I feel like if like, I understand people being upset with the shutdowns because it affected the economy, it affected people not being able to go to work. I understood that to a certain extent. Like, I saw it as necessary, but, um, but I just think, like, it's not that hard to wear a mask
yeah.
and stay 6 feet apart from people and, like, minimize your contact with others, and, like, even I live in South Carolina, they really aren't enforcing it very well, but
Mhm.
I see people, like, wearing masks and trying to stay away from each other, like, doing their part, and then there's just, like, those select few who refuse to do it just because of the fact that people are politicizing it, and they're like, "I'm not gonna listen to what, um, Nancy Pelosi has to say," and I'm like, "And this has nothing to do with Nancy Pelosi." Like, I'm sorry, like,
Yeah.
what? Like, literally, that makes no sense. But
Yeah. I
okay.
agree. Like it's just I think a lot of people think that science has like I don't know, a political slant, but like it's literally just information. And
Yeah.
if you think that having access to good information is somehow political, then I would advise you to reevaluate your beliefs in your views maybe.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
not like we're not like this is not trying to advance an agenda. Like it's just we just want to protect people and we can do that by like telling them to wear masks. And like
Yeah.
it also is part of the culture, like American culture in general is just like everything's about yourself, like individualism. And that's why people are, taking this as like oppression because they think, oh, this is like a free country, so I'm allowed to do whatever I want. And if someone tells me I have to wear a mask, then that's infringing upon my freedom. But what freedom is it in like infringing upon? Because when you're not wearing a mask, you're basically like endangering other people. So now you're infringing on their freedom. So it doesn't really make sense that you would think the opposite.
Yeah. The thing that I kinda find is funny about people who don't wear masks is, like, that's just straight up psychology at play. Like, literally basic social psychology is if you tell someone to do something, they're not gonna wanna do it. And so that's exactly what's happening here, and the fact that people are like, "No, I don't wanna do it because they're being oppressive." I'm like, "No, you don't wanna do it just because someone told you to do it." Like, you
Yeah,
are
like
acting like a child.
you can't compare like being told to wear a mask to like actual oppression, like systemic racism. We got, all these other things that are
Yeah.
actual problems in our society.
Also,
Like you can't put them together.
I think it's funny how people think that being asked to wear a mask is oppression, and the people who usually say those statements I mean, this is kind of a blanket statement, so I'm sorry for that, but the people who tend to think that being told to wear a mask is a form of oppression have most likely not experienced actual systemic oppression.
I agree. Yeah, because they don't know like that is not comparable. It's just not like two different things completely.
Yeah.
Just follow public health guidelines. Like I promise you that if you do, this will all go away faster because like maybe people will be protected and like the virus won't spread as fast. Like there are reasons that they're being implemented and there's evidence behind it, but like people just don't want to pay attention or they don't want to listen to it.
Also, another thing, I'm like, if this is someone trying to push an agenda or oppress you, like, what is their agenda that they're pushing? Like, what is their goal? Like, the whole world is literally experiencing this right now. So I don't that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. It's just like at this point, like if you still are in denial of the coronavirus and you're still adamant on like not wearing a mask or not following protocol, then like that is really just a you problem at that point because you've seen people get it Trump freaking got it. Well,
Yeah.
he got better. So then obviously his supporters might, think that it's not real. But like, it's killed millions of people by this point. And
Also,
it's like upended our entire like work, I don't know, environment. Like, we're literally taking classes from our computers now. We don't go anywhere. We don't do anything. So like, clearly there's, something real going on here.
yeah. Also, I think it's funny that like conservatives will be like, liberals are so sensitive, y'all are so like, you're snowflakes, and then the second someone asks them to wear a mask, they're like, no, like I can't breathe. And I'm like, who's the sensitive one? Who's sensitive? Like literally you are fine.
And if you can't breathe, then I don't think you should be going anywhere.
Like,
Like, you're probably at risk,
oh my
you
gosh.
know?
Yeah, like I'm sorry, you should stay home. Like if you have a medical exemption to not wear a mask, maybe you should just stay home if you have a
Yeah.
medical issue.
Yeah, it's a respiratory infection, so
But anyways,
yeah. I think that is all that I want to talk about, but let's just have one last question. What do you think the future of health and wellness and well-being will look like?
I think since COVID, it has changed drastically, but I think there's going to be a lot more of a shift towards mental health and making mental health services more available, which is great. Um, and just hopefully there will be a shift towards more public knowledge of health and public health, because I feel like people need to be learning about these things because it affects them in everyday life. So yeah.
Yeah, those are good points, I think. Yeah, since the stigma of mental illness is going down, I think people are more willing to talk about it and even seek treatment or like, learn about it at least. And I mean, physical health is still important, of course, but there's already lots of things that we know about it and how to maintain it. And then as for COVID, I think after, if I mean, let's see, I don't know if when the pandemic will end, but like, I don't think our society is ever going to be the same because this is kind of like a monumental period, I guess. But I just hope that the outcome is that more people are, willing to listen to public health professionals, scientists, doctors, etc. And I hope that, in the future, health policy is more like focused on being able to help every patient, every person. Because right now, like, even with the vaccine distribution, it's not very effective so far. So, like, vaccines are like going bad because they're not being used when they can be distributed. So, that, I mean, I think that that should be something that people think about, just like getting treatment to people. And we have the resources to do it. It's just like a matter of, the direction or I guess the leadership. So yeah, we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah.
Vote.
Everyone go vote. Also, everyone go educate yourself on public health. Like people don't know
Yeah.
enough about it. Please go out,
Yeah.
do your research.
Also, yeah, like voting can only go so far, I think. People will say that, but then like what are you actually doing, Like
Yeah.
you can help out in other ways as well. So because sometimes the government's not going to help you, and we can see that very clearly. So sometimes you got to take it into your own hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other concluding words?
Um, no. I think
I think that was
we
it.
covered a lot.
I think that was a very good discussion. Yeah, if anyone has any questions about, I guess, anything that we talked about or just want to chat, let us know. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, I don't know, all the
If
things.
you wash your hands after
Yep.
you use the bathroom, I really want to know.
Please tell us. Yeah. Share this with a friend. And suggest new ideas for more podcasts. But besides that, I think that's all for today.
Bye.
Bye.